Hey there everyone, welcome to the last video of the series this year, going through all the monsters that came out in 2020. Today we're looking at the monsters in water. We've gone through all the other elements so far, so just water to go. This is from the 4th to the 5th anniversary, roughly Halloween to Halloween. So this video is going to be split up into 3 sections, like all of them, looking at the themes and sub-themes, just generally how what water does, and then we're going to look at the new monsters, and then lastly, going to look at where those new monsters fit into water and what kind of is going on in water now. So there are links in the description to go to all these sections, as in all these videos. So what we're looking at here is all the monsters in water, all the legendaries and mythics that is, and a bit of a summary table. The new monsters that came out this year, 6 new mythics, 2 legendaries and 3 super epics. This has the biggest weighting on mythics of all the elements. I think this is the element which had the most mythics come. Which I have to say as a player, a little bit disappointing. Mythics, they impact the meta less, they'll change the way things happen less because they're just rarer. I mean, 1% and then you've got to get 4 copies to really use them properly. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed in general with how many mythics came out this year compared to legendaries, and especially in water, it's really noticeable. So not much has actually changed in water in the last year in terms of how people are playing it, because those mythics they haven't really been obtained that much. But in terms of stats and speed, so water is very much average now with the stats. If you look up in the top right on the summary table, you'll see that of the 40 legendaries and mythics in water, there's 11 full attack, 11 standard attack, 9 rounded, 7 standard defense, and 2 full defense. That is very typical of what Neo Monsters is like in general. You have more aggressive monsters like that, very few on the full defense part, and yeah, just weighted much more towards the lower defense and that kind of stuff. Now this year we did see a bit more of a shift to higher defense stuff. We've seen that in general over the years in Neo Monsters. They're bringing out more stuff that's tanky, but yeah, the average is still very much lower defense stuff. So it's average when it comes to the stats, which means it does a bit of everything. It's got some tankier stuff, it's got some more aggressive stuff, and then in terms of speed, it's actually the highest. So I say like Storm because it's like Storm with the stats and also the speed. It's very similar to Storm actually in many ways. Before I was comparing like Holy and Storm because they're both kind of control elements. Between Water and Storm, they do things slightly differently. In terms of Storm is slightly more control, Water is slightly more like piercing sweeping, which piercing sweeping is one of the things Storm doesn't do. So they're very different in that regard. However, they do have control stuff. There is control stuff in Water, and they both have a lot of stuff that's really well suited for PvP. So I mean that comes with high speed generally, but also just the kind of themes and stuff in the elements. Storm and Water are very well suited for PvP. So yeah, being fast, Fire has like a few super fast stuff, but overall, on average, Water and Storm are the fastest. And those 3 elements are actually the ones which have the most element accelerates. Fire actually has more fast sweeping moves, so they go slightly more towards that, while Water and Storm just have element accelerate and fast things in general like that. So they're all the kind of speedy elements. And then because monster types are a new thing, aquatic, as you can imagine, there's a lot of aquatic stuff in Water. So going into the themes, the first theme is Sleep theme. Now this is because it is Water. We haven't seen a huge amount of support for it recently, that is, but there's definitely some powerful stuff here. A lot of dreamy entrance things, link water moves as well. Actually, I'm trying to think. Yeah, 2 link water moves there in the bear, which I can never remember the name of, and then also the bird, which I can't remember the name of right now. Pelarian, that's it. Pelarian. I got one of them. But yeah, we've recently had like the mythics at the bottom, which do support it quite nicely. Huskagun especially, very very good on that. The sleep is only in the Show of Might, but that is really quite strong. It entering shocking entrance and then killing off some dead weight and stunning and putting an enemy to sleep. Amazing control in that. Anyway, so there's a lot of sleep stuff going on, but we haven't seen it expanded enormously. Next we have the Detox / Poison. So this is Poison has slowly been drip fed into Water over the years, and Freeze Cobra is one of the big players in that, really helping both Detox and Poison because it poisons your teammates as well as the enemy, and being a stun absorber means it's seen a lot of play. So there's detox stuff in there, that stuff's in the middle. On the right we've just got straight up sweepers, poison sweepers, and on the left you've got poison immune stuff, which works quite nicely when you're trying to poison your whole thing. Atlan Tyrant was one of the recent additions. You can see I've sort of slapped it in there between those two things, because it poisons the whole field, which fuels the detox stuff, as well as being a poison sweeper itself. It's really quite nice actually, in terms of how it fits into the themes, even if it's not like the strongest monster. So that's pretty cool what it does with poison. The next is stun. So stun has really come out in recent years as well. Wasn't there initially in water. There's a little bit of stun initially, but it's really come out more and more as time's gone on, with some of the more recent-ish editions of like Huskargan, which I mentioned already, and Sober King, very powerful there. So yeah, there's quite a bit of stun stuff in water, which is interesting because, you know, when we're comparing this to Storm, Storm is very much the stun element, and the fact that there is already some kind of comparisons between Storm and Water, here you've got stun in Water as well. It's quite interesting. I think the two probably combine together quite nicely. Next we have the Camouflage theme. So this is something that's also kind of been coming out slowly over the years. Wasn't there originally, because Camouflage wasn't really a big deal originally. It wasn't around much. But as you can see, there's a few Camouflage monsters, a lot of stealth monsters, and yeah, there may be more pushing in that. Really powerful in PvP as well. And then entrance control sub-theme. So there's a bunch of things here. You can see on the left, those are kind of sacrifice stuff, or switch friend to get a new monster into play, one of your monsters out of play. Actually, we've got some of that stuff in the middle. I can't remember exactly how I've laid this out, but anyway, there's a bunch of entrance control, like in Storm again, which just really helps out in PvP. It really suits what PvP was trying to do. In fact, in a recent update, they removed the restriction from Walker. The secret skill instant send back used to have a 50-second restriction from the first turn, which it's in there because otherwise it's just like entrance control slapped onto something right at the beginning. If you had it in the front line to decide, okay, this teammate which I had out there on the front line to do something, it's done its thing now or whatever, let's just send it back, and at no cost because it's a 1-second move. But they actually removed that restriction recently from Walker, which is pretty cool, something to keep an eye on. So yeah, entrance control sub-theme, that's one of the other themes going on in Water. So that's end of the themes. First of all, we're going to look at two monsters which didn't come out as new this year. The Legendary, which we'll look at next, I forgot from last year. It should have been in last year's video, but I just completely missed it. It was one of the two that I missed. Snow Hulk here, this is a super epic which got revamped, and it's worthy of noting. I only mentioned this and one other monster. It was a fire monster that was a super epic which got revamped. This one really has got very strong. So this is highly regarded, it was highly regarded as probably the worst super epic in the game. Originally it had Reckless Attack and Zealous Attack, which kind of go against, you know, they're both basically the same kind of move. And then I can't remember what else it had. It had like Desperate Bite, I think, and something else. Anyway, it didn't really work very well at anything, and then the gimmick was like when it dies it can come back to life with 50% chance to come back on low health. It didn't really work. Nobody liked it. There was no reason to use it. It was just random damage. So they redesigned it really, really well, I think. And this monster is seriously good for PvP. So the thing to note here is it's got decent speed. So with decent speed, it comes in, gets a shield, and then it can basically snowball. That's the main thing about this. Desperate Bite and Reckless Attack, they don't matter that much. They're not going to do much significantly. Desperate Bite we'll get to in a second, but Snowball does insane damage. It one-shots like super buff things as well. It just does ridiculous damage. It's like balanced for Yukis, which have like, I don't know, 600 attack or something, and this has 4,000. So the Snowball just does insane damage. And then also it's got Purify, which can come up and be very useful in some instances. So it's very hard outside of the front line to stop that Snowball, because it will come in and have a shield entrance. And if you do manage to kill it, there's a 50% chance it just comes back anyway, and it gets a shield entrance, it gets another shield as it enters, so the fact it's on low health means that it's still quite hard to kill. So decent in that regard. then also you can use it in the front line, because with that decent speed, it's like a guaranteed kill when you do this, and it doesn't set itself back. So one of the things about sacrifice moves that makes them really strong is that you don't have that monster then pushed out of play by like 130 seconds or 160 seconds. It's done its thing, had the impact, and it's gone. There's something new there with something, another bit of power. So I'm actually using this in PvP right now with Celestine in 5th place, 5th spot. So this gets a turn, does snowball, and then Celestine gets in, immediately gets a turn, and I can even like use this to hit something to hold ground. Celestine will come in and then finishing snap the thing on hold ground instantly, and then follow up with a link fast strike or something. There's cool stuff you can do with this, a lot of power, very viable, and that Purify, don't sleep on that. Purify is so useful to have. So Desperate Bite gets charged by the regenerate when it comes back in and it's on low health. That can sometimes come up, so if this dies when it comes back in, you don't have to snowball. You could Desperate Bite, kill something, not like a really tanky monster, but you can kill something reasonable with that, and then follow up with a snowball after that or something. There's a bit of versatility in there, and Purify definitely makes it a lot stronger. So this is a very cool monster, and I think they did a great job redesigning it. The next monster is Tardigrade. So this was the one which I missed from last year, and I should mention, so this, when it came out, people joked about the art of it. It looks like a butthole or whatever. If you didn't know, a tardigrade is actually an animal. It's a really, really interesting animal. I'd highly recommend looking it up. I only found out about it quite recently, and it's an insane animal that can survive exceptionally well. It's been around for a very long time. There's hundreds of species or thousands of species around the world. Basically, they live in small in ponds and little bits of water, and they're almost indestructible, like in terms of natural things, natural environments. So they can survive radiation, they can survive temperatures of like minus 100 degrees, plus 200 or 300 degrees, I can't remember the numbers exactly, look it up and you'll find out. They can even live in like lower orbit in space for like 2 months or something and survive. And they can go into what's called a null. No, I can't remember exactly what it's called. But basically, if they don't have water around them, then they'll go into this sort of panic mode and they'll curl up, and then they effectively die. Their I can't remember, their metabolic rate goes to down something like 0.1% or 0.01% if it's normal amount, and they can survive like that for years. Before then, when some water's on them again, they'll then revive themselves within like 20 minutes or something ridiculous like that. They're an insane animal. I do recommend go look up and to see some of the cool facts about them. So this is built around that, and you can see some of the stuff going on. The fact it's water, very fitting with the way how they live in water. The Tarda Cannon, I think that might be a reference to them kind of reviving themselves, because it has the healing aspect, but I'm not sure if the healing aspect was actually in the original design. The main thing here is the thick skin. Thick skin, very much. That is tardigrade, for sure. That they are, they're super tanky, they survive really well. So thick skin does that. So talking about the monster itself, well, actually, one more thing to say about this is that this was actually considered really, really bad when it came out. It then got multiple buffs. So Taunt was actually Protect Teammates originally, so they took away the Protector Killer weakness, because it used to have Protector and Chrono Killer weakness, which people then said, with those two weaknesses, you can't run this because you're going to be punished. So they removed Protector from it. They made it Taunt. The secret skill, I believe, got buffed so that it has lower seconds than it used to have, and it heals, which I'm not sure if it's used to heal. I can't remember exactly what they did with the secret skill. Survive at all, they reduced the recoil from that and increased the damage considerably. So this is like, I can't remember if this was the case a year ago. It probably was, but basically this monster went under the radar for quite a while as it got buffed up, and now it's actually really, really good. So what this monster does is it's basically a tanky protector. The whole ground and thick skin work really nicely, and Taunt means that it's you can redirect the attacks to it. Small hits won't do anything to it. A lot of these sort of standard attacks, like if you were to use moves when they don't critical, they won't do enough damage. One of the really harsh things you can do is give them bronze shells, and then the bronze shells can't kill themselves off because they can't do any damage to tardigrade. Yeah, there's some cool things there with the thick skin. The way you generally want to play it though is you want to do the give turn. So this monster, because of the hold ground, thick skin, reasonable speed, it's actually got reasonable speed for for a give turn monster, it gets to that first turn quite reliably, then you give turn, and then people usually ignore it. And that's a bad mistake. You've got to kill it before it gets the next turn, because when it gets that next turn, it uses the 50-second move that one-shot piercing kills something and fully heals this. It heals by 100% of the damage dealt, so basically it's a fully heal a lot of the time. And then it can follow that up with another give turn or a taunt. If you need this to get in the way, you can taunt with it. If it survives, you can do survivor all. Well, then you're going to just sweep the enemy team. This monster is really cool. It's really good. Really nice support monster that has a lot going on with it. It really ties together Link Water teams very well, but it can work pretty well in a lot of stuff. It's not like super oppressive or anything, but it's powerful for sure. So now we'll move into the actual new monsters, starting off with the super epics, which I'm going to rush over them fairly quickly. So this is one of the Abyss Soldiers. It's relatively tanky, and because of Lone Fish, this is super tanky. You'll see on the ratings, I put it S- for general and B for PvP. There's quite a big difference here. Basically, you wouldn't really use this in PvP. It's a team turn monster, but to get to the team turn, we now have to pass 50 seconds. There's no great way of doing that other than no guard, which you could not have this bonus, so you just have a bonus for the entrance speed, but not for the seconds, so then you can use no guard to get to the team turn efficiently. But to be honest, it's not the best in that regard. You don't particularly want to use it with the team turn, and the thing is as well, using this with another Abyss Soldier means that it gets accelerated and pulled in really quickly, but the Abyss Soldiers generally, you don't want to use them together that much. And if you do, then this isn't as tanky and stuff, and it's got the Chrono weakness. I just don't really see this fitting into PvP very well. In PvE, though, you can use this with the other Abyss Soldiers, one or two of them that would be strong or something, and this is going to come in, get a turn really quickly, and then you can just pass that 50 seconds, get a free team turn like that. So it does the team turn, you use no guard, and then you just do damage with the solo Zealous attack. It's reasonable enough. To be honest, I may put it down in general. I don't know if it really deserves S-, but it's fine. I don't like it that much, as you can probably tell. I think the design is kind of just a bit boring, really. We've seen team turn monsters, and this one isn't that impressive. Next we have the Pyramid Golem Sauramid. So this is one of the Pyramid Golems. I've hyped up Pyramid Golems in the previous episodes as we went through the different elements. This one is nothing that exciting. It's about average, A for average, I guess. So it's in the A tiers because this does work with the other Pyramid Golems, and you do want to use them together, so this does support them, but it's nothing that impressive itself. So it has hold ground like all of them. This one is the one with sleep immunity, how they have the immunity and the revenge. This one's the one with sleep immunity. The Hellfire Mortar all doesn't do that much damage. Dream Crush, well, I guess you could do this. The Storm one actually has the solo sleep, so you could use this as a sweeper with the Storm one. Dream Crush is a bit slow though. But anyway, yeah, I could definitely see that working actually. But ultimately, this one's probably going to be used to just load the other ones. It's going to sit there and just use PG load a lot, and then knock back if you're desperate, or if you're using the sleep with the Storm one, then you can Dream Crush stuff. So yeah, that's fine, perfectly fine. But you wouldn't use this by itself, really, even though it's got sleep immunity. So you could use it with one-on-one and then Dream Crush, where there's no follow-up from that. So you're not really going to do that. But yeah, decent enough. That's another super epic. So now we go to the last super epic, Spikeus Torrent. This is another one of the hedgehogs. This one is actually the best by itself. With the other hedgehogs, it's the Storm one really that does anything. Then it means that the Storm one can use a 50-second nullifying strike essentially, which is quite decent. I haven't actually tried it to see how that is, but I don't think it will be that strong. So I would say you're more looking at this as a standalone monster. And as a standalone monster, what this does is supports water stealth, and that's something which we're going to see a bit more as we go further into this video, is there's a lot of water stealth stuff going on, and Elm Stealth All is pretty decent. It's not Purify Mist, and it's not going to stealth your whole team, but if you're Link Water or doing water stealth stuff, then it's going to stealth what you need it to, and 100 seconds is very decent from a super epic. So it's got a fairly decent stealth move. Nullifying Strike, says big damage. It doesn't, I think it's 1,300 or something like that. It's fine damage, but it's not really going to kill things. It's more like if you put something low you can kill it, or if you put it to hold ground, but most things don't have a revenge and hold ground. That's pretty rare. So Nullifying Strike can come up a bit, but not that much. Herbicide, killing plants, fine. Now, those two damage moves, neither is particularly exciting. You need to help Spiky's Torrent get a kill, really. And ultimately, if you are using this monster, I would say that would be the way to do it, is run it in a Link Water stealth team, so it can support them, and then if you can line it up, you can like grab a kill on this. Most of the stealth monsters, well, I don't know if I can really... I was going to say most of the stealth monsters don't have blood moves, so they don't need the kills, so you can make the kill on this. I don't want to like generalize too much, but you can definitely try and line up a kill for this, so then it can be both a support or a sweeper with the Blood Fury. And Blood Fury on a Super Epic is definitely good. So there's some good stuff here. Frozen Revenge isn't bad as a revenge either, so it's reasonably good. I quite like it. I think the design is good. It's just probably me in my state where I'm like, if it's not super strong, I'm not going to use it because it's a Super Epic. That's probably why I'm sounding down on it. But otherwise, I think it's great design, and it can definitely fit into some teams, in some niche cases for sure. So moving on to the Legendaries, Glacearon. Some people probably won't realise that this came out in the last year, because it came out for Christmas 2019, which is now quite a long time ago. But yeah, this is actually a relatively new monster, and it is very powerful. And this is another reason why people won't realise that it came out so recently, is because this got used tons. So this is like Infernocorn in some respects, because it's the full attack and it's stun converter. They're clearly kind of designed together. This one is, I would say, the stronger of the two. As strong as Infernocorn is, it does take a little bit of time before it does anything, and the follow-up is not the best unless you're in Link Fire. This monster, though, just works in so many instances. So the super high speed is amazing when it comes in stealthed, because you're left with you're given so many options right off the bat. The ideal thing is to either the enemy has a poison monster, so you can use instant toxic killer, or you have something on whole ground or low health that you can kill it off instantly and then follow up with raw blood fury. That's one of the things which has got a lot of people saying that this should be nerfed. Now that hasn't been in the discussion recently, but after this came out for quite a few months, people were saying this is too good, it's way too good sweeper, it's like pushing what raw is doing and everything. And in some respects I get that. It's a top PvP monster. We get a few top PvP monsters each year, and this was just one of them. So it can come in, grab a kill immediately, and then follow up with Raw Blood Fury, which feels amazing. Or you can Kinslayer, which, well, basically it's either a poison monster or a water monster, and then it can kill something on its first turn. The poison, though, means it can follow up with Raw Blood Fury. Raw Blood Fury is obviously the kind of go-to sweeping move after you've got a kill. Stunning Charge, though, is pretty cool, and I love that as a fail case, because some of the problems with some monsters, like where they need a kill for their Raw Blood Fury, and then if they can't get that kill, they're just kind of like stuck there. This has a really seriously good fail case of stunning an enemy, and it's not always stunning as well. It only stuns if you're in stealth, which it enters stealth, so it's going to have the stun there. But then it's like later on, if they have a stun counter or something like that, so you don't want to stun them. Well, if Glacearon doesn't have its stealth anymore, you don't need to worry, you can actually use the stunning charge. So it hits around protectors, just as a flat thing, you don't need to be stealth for that, and does pretty good damage. It does about 1,000 damage, I think. So it's a decent damage move, which then, if it is stealthed, which most of the time on the first turn, it will be, you can then stun something for 100 seconds, and you can actually continually stun them out of play. It's really good for an Overwatch monster, because you hit the monster and then it gets stunned, so it gets triggered from the Overwatch and then it gets stunned by 100 seconds, so you can counteract Overwatch like that. There's a lot of instances where this comes in and it's got something to do. Like, it's very rare that this will come in and it won't have a good target for something, because you can, if something's on whole ground, you can kill it and then do Raw Blood Fury. If there's a poison monster or a water monster, you can kill that. If there aren't those cases, or you just need to stun something in particular, well then you can stun something. If you need to hit round a protector and do reasonable damage, which may sound like a random niche case, but it's surprising how often that happens, that it's like, I've got that thing on whole ground that I need to hit, or it's on low health and need to hit, but there's behind a protector. Well, this can do it with stunning charge. There's so much good stuff on this that it's seriously good sweeper, and it works in PvE as well. So I've gone on about it long enough. I didn't really mention the stun converter. Basically, that just makes it a better sweeper. Like, it has got a chrono weakness, and it's really squishy, but that's it's an amazing sweeper, so it makes up for that. Next we have Torizu. This is the only other legendary, and this one is not as exciting. I'm not going to go on about this one very long. Basically, it's like water. I often say water has a lot of piercing, and this is kind of another case of, hey look, water has piercing, but that's kind of what it does. So Slayer Break and Shield Breaker, both 130-second moves. Slayer Break, talking too quickly here. Slayer Break is a reasonable move. Anything that has a kill, you can kill it. It doesn't go around protectors or anything like that, but like reasonable speed for that, and that's pretty much what Torizu does. It comes in and then just repeatedly Slayer Break, Slayer Break, Slayer Break every time it gets a turn, and it's got good defense. What the design is kind of pushing you towards is in the zone. However, getting 5 kills is just ridiculous. You can see I've put this in E tier for PvE. I don't think it's ever possible, even in PvE, to like get to in the zone. Like, you'd have to repeatedly heal this or whatever. Like, it's going to survive a long time. And also, for those kills, you need to be losing teammates for Slayer Break to get a target. So it just doesn't really do that. That's in PvP. If it's left alone, it can repeatedly Slayer Break, but in PvE, I can't really see that happening. Shield Breaker's nice. This is a decent Shield Breaker monster if you don't have the Mythic. Like, this is the other monster with Shield Breaker. So it's fine at getting kills, and it's quite tanky. Sometimes we've seen monsters like that, where they're tanky and they just have efficient killing moves, and they do really well. This is an instance where I don't think it quite hits the mark. It's reasonable, it's average. B is the middle tier rating for PvP. So yeah, I think it's fine, it does the job, but it's nothing that exciting. In the zone is just pretty useless. The secret skill, Swift Cannibalize, actually pretty good for removing dead weight from your team, if you want to. And I will say as well, this has more recently had Ultra Wave switch to Slash All, just more piercing. But yeah, anyway, I can't see a whole lot of use for this monster. It's just fine with the Slayer Break, really. So moving on to Mythics. Now, Mythics is where it gets quite a bit more exciting. There's good general power level in the Mythics. First up we have Anchorer. Now this is in the shop for 80 6-star tickets. It's very expensive. It's basically for big spenders, like most Mythics, to be honest. And I have since brought it down a little bit in the PvE tier list. But yeah, it's fine. It's quite good, but not incredible. It's held back by the stealth, because it has to keep reapplying stealth, and that's 70 seconds, which is a bit too slow. 50 seconds is where stealth gets really, really, really good. 70 is like, it's usable, but it's nothing too powerful, because it's, in most instances, it's possible to remove that stealth before it gets another turn, and it doesn't have much in the way of damage other than double sneak attack. However, what this really pushes is Link Water stealth. Like, we're going to see more of it as well, but this is one of the big monsters for Link Water stealth. Having double sneak attack with the nullifier passive, that's the main thing here, is it can kill things without triggering their revenge. Double sneak attack does insane damage, that it kills things easily in PvE when they're buffed. So I do see a lot of use for this as a sweeper in PvE. It's pretty tanky. It enters with a shield and stealth. It can put another shield on itself with the secret skill, and yeah, I can see this working well. It's just nothing too mad because of that slowish stealth. Stun Guard is a very cool move, making something immune to stun. So this isn't immune to stun initially, but you can make it immune, and we haven't seen a whole lot of use for that. Maybe there's some combo stuff there. I think there's a fair amount of potential in this monster, but the fact that the stealth is slow means it will be held back quite a bit, that it's not going to be a crazy mythic by any stretch, just quite a decent one. Next we have Azida. Now this one is pretty crazy. It's probably a fan favourite for any newer player. This is one of the most picked friend monsters out there. I've got a friend who was sharing this, and he'd get so many friend points every day from sharing Azida, because I think for newer players this one is just overpowered. But when it actually comes to more competitive stuff, I don't think this is insane. But in PvE it's definitely very good. Now the main move on Azida is Fatal Chant. Actually, I should say first of all, the passives are the big thing here. So Azida has the minimum defense. However, you use her with the dragon. How many dragons are in the game? So many. There are so many dragons that it's really easy to just use her with the dragon. And then she has a 50% boost to her defense, which means she's effectively standard defense, so very tanky, and then has insane attack. And every time she gets a kill, she gets a shield. Now that's important when we get to some things here. So the main move here is Fatal Chant, that does critical to any enemy that has 70% health or more, and heals her by 50% of the damage dealt. The damage on that is really, really good. So Azida basically just one-shots with that every single time she gets a turn. Every 130 seconds, she kills something, she heals, she puts a shield on herself, and because she's tanky, well, good luck trying to get rid of her. She has no killer weaknesses. Yeah, you can see how a lot of newer players would just be like, oh my god, this is just insane, it's so powerful, killing through things, and healing and shielding. But when it comes to PvP, competitive PvP especially, there's a lot of stuff which you can do to kind of just, you can stun her, you can sleep her, you can shields and hold ground and stuff counter her because she doesn't have piercing. Like, she doesn't work quite as well in that scenario. She does have a 1-second move though, the secret skill for killing something off on hold ground, that works really nicely, or getting rid of a shield first before then doing the Fatal Chant or Zealous Attack. But yeah, she's basically a crazy sweeper like that. Dragon Lottery, I should talk about a little bit. So this is mainly for removing deadweight, and it also shields her, which is the important thing here, that it's a fast move to shield her and grab a kill on her, to then slowly charge Bloodshed. After she's got a couple of kills, Bloodshed does one shot, if she has the dragon stats boost. And the Dragon Lottery as well creates a dragon which buffs up the stats, so if there are no dragon, then you can make a dragon like that. However, the monster it makes is going to be bad. Like, the dragons in the game, there are very few that are 4 stars or below. They're almost all Super Epics, Legendaries or Mythics. However, the problem is that it takes them at whatever form that they are. So they could be first form, second form, third form. So the chance of it being like something good is basically a Legendary or Mythic that is in final form, which, I guess Mythic second form, but basically the chance of that is like 1 in 4 or something, 1 in 5. And so using Dragon Lottery, well, you're going to have to use it a lot of times before you actually get something decent out of it. And even then, it could be like, it's a fine monster, but it doesn't suit the scenario at all. So yeah, Dragon Lottery, you're not going to get something great out of it. It's just basically for killing off a deadweight and trying to get something better, creating a dragon, grabbing a kill on Azida, putting a shield on her, that kind of thing. Mainly she's just a sweeper which heals and shields herself and has good speed. But yeah, pretty cool, and I can see why a lot of newer players would think she's insane and really like her. Next up we have Fiona. Now Fiona is similar to the one we just looked at, Azida, but instead of dragons she likes beasts. And instead of being like this aggressive monster which is just all about hitting, well, she's about support and tanking. She tanks like fuck. Like, this defense, she has max defense and gets boosted by 50%. She is crazily tanky. And then the damage from when she's boosted on attack is good too. So, yeah, actually really quite decent. I was quite down on her initially when I first saw her, because I thought like, what beasts, it's going to be a bit awkward and stuff. But there are actually quite a few decent beasts. And if you don't use her with beasts, I do think she's a bit weaker. But with them, she's incredibly strong. And what she does is support Linkwater Stealth. As I said, we've got more support for Linkwater Stealth. So she has high speed with the Instant Purifying Mist. Very good for setting it up on the front line or whatever you want to do. And what's really nice with that is the Stealthy Accelerate. Very fast move, 50-second move. And then it makes the seconds be halved of the stealth teammate. Even if they have the stealth removed, then it still happens. But this can set up like a, say for example, Anchor. You could, a good setup for it, I guess, is like you have a protector, and then you have this, and you use the instant Purifying Mist, you then stealthy accelerate Anchor, and then Anchor hopefully won't be hit because of the Protector and stuff. PvP, I don't know whether this would line up, but PvE for sure it would be good. And then you can use the double sneak attack, which won't be the normal 136 seconds. It will be more like, I don't know, 70 seconds, which is pretty insane. And if they don't deal with it, then she can stealthy accelerate it again, and she can basically make anything stealth be a good sweeper. However, where this really comes in is actually not with the instant Purify Mist, it's just with anything that has camouflage. Because they're permanently stealth, she can just continually speed up anything with camouflage. It's very good for, say, take a Senshi, which is a good sweeper, or it could be used for Blue Maluga. It doesn't work for Blue Maluga quite so well, but yeah, there's a lot of camouflage, strong camouflage monsters that are good sweepers, that stealthy accelerate really helps. So that's kind of the cool stuff there. Frosty Shield, I don't think you'd ever really use. Frozen Wave, this is where it gets a bit hard to rate how good she is. Frozen Wave doesn't do anything special for damage, but increasing all their seconds by 50% is so powerful, it's so oppressive, and given her speed, you can do this in the front line and completely wreck the opponent's front line and then just leave certain monsters alive for the whole battle. Now, there is Accelerate Team out there, there's Enemy Accelerate and stuff, those will all counteract the Frozen Wave, but if they don't have that, then those monsters are so much weaker. I think Fiona is incredibly powerful in the right kind of team, where she has something with camouflage that she can support. She can, basically that, and then being able to slow down the enemy team. Really strong. The Double Drain Survivor, now this is another thing which I kind of underrated slightly, is that when she is with a beast teammate, she's insanely hard to kill, and that Double Drain Survivor one-shots. So you can use her in PvE as well, it does really high damage, and with her defense, it's going to be very hard to kill her when she's healing repeatedly from that and killing things. Fiona has a lot going for her. She is a little bit awkward to use because if you're not using her with some kind of camouflage monster or in a stealth team, she doesn't have too much to offer other than just slowing down the enemies and hoping that the scenario is good for that. Until her Double Drain Survivor, when it's going to be powerful. You have to also use her with a beast really to get the most out of her, but she is really good in the right teams and in the right scenarios. Let's move on from her now. Next up we have Lilithia. Now this is one that I'm actually pretty down on. I'm moving her down in PvP tier list. I moved her down in PvE, and PvP I didn't touch her because I was like, I'll give a bit more time to think about it. So there's some cool stuff going on with her, but ultimately I don't think she depends too much on the opponent and what they have. So she can counter poison, sleep, and storm monsters. Now, I've seen many instances where a monster does something like that. They counter 2 things or 3 things, and it works incredibly well. Like Draco-Rosa is an example where it actually works really well that it counters fire monsters and poison monsters, because one of those comes up enough, or there's a monster with hold ground enough, or the Purifying Mist as a fail case is just really good that Draco-Rosa works very well. Now the problem here, I think, is that Lilithia doesn't have a blood move. So yes, she counters poison, and sleep, and storm, but if none of those things come up, then she can't do that much. If one of those things does come up, great, she counters it, and then she doesn't do anything again. Like, there's not enough in her moveset to really make me go, this is a monster I want to play. It's slightly too dependent on stuff. So those moves we've had a quick look at. They're all very powerful, counter sleep especially. However, you do note you can't use any sleep monsters as teammates to use and if you have any sleep monsters as teammates, you can't use counter sleep. Pure Cure is the kind of fail case here, and it's fine. It's 100 seconds, which is nice, but I don't think it does enough as a fail case. The secret skill, nice again, swift pullback, bit situational. You kind of want to have a teammate that has a good entrance, or to rescuing them, you just use Pure Cure if they're asleep or something. So anyway, the main gimmick here is Misty Field. Everything that comes in with stealth, more support for Link Water stealth. We had so much support for it this year, and yeah, that's pretty decent. I would say most of the stealth monsters that have sneak attack, they have stealthy entrance, so Misty Field doesn't do anything for them. I think in general, Lilithia, overall, it just depends way too much on the enemy's team, because does the stealth on your entering monsters actually matter? Are they single sweeping or are they double sweeping? Does the enemy have poison, sleep, or storm? Probably some of these things will come up at some point in a battle, but will they come up enough that you actually want to run this monster? I don't know. I'm a little bit down on it, but I think it will feel very good when things come up and it's actually going to do what it wants to do. I should say as well, it's also stupidly tanky, and I think that's ridiculous because it's some girl in a bikini. Like, how the fuck is she super tanky? But anyway, whatever. So yeah, that's Lilithia. Next we have Plume's-Elisk. Plume's-Elisk is very powerful. It's very much a PvP monster, as you can see by the tier list stuff on the right. Basically, it's really good because it's a protector without protector weakness, and it's a stun absorber too. So it's a stun absorber you can just run in a team. Protector, like there's Gear Croc, which is a water auto protect stun absorber, and that was originally one of the best stun absorbers that was around because it's a stun absorber that if it gets stunned, it can't be left alone. You have to kill it because it's a protector. Now these days we can hit around protectors, but a bunch of that stuff, well, true hit, gets triggered by it actually being a protector, which you can't use with Plume's-Elisk. You can't use against Plume's-Elisk because technically it's not a protector, it's a taunter. So yeah, it's really nice with the stun absorb front. It's tanky, like seriously tanky. The protector being 50% is good, it's fine. And this can actually kill things with Union Attack, which is pretty nice, as well as double counter strike. So Union Attack is a good move, a seriously good move. There are birds around. You don't have to use this in Link Water at all. There's nothing telling you to use this in Link Water, so you can use a bird with it and get that Union Attack. Otherwise, double counter strike does come up a fair amount and is obviously very powerful when it does come up. So yeah, pretty good. It's got the instant pullback as well, very strong effect to have in the right situation. Yeah, just good all round. Another thing about this, the first form, I've complained about this on the forum. Normally people seem to actually know that well, that when monsters aren't fully evolved, when they're lower stars, they get a defense buff. And this is especially noticeable in their first form. Now, most of the time when you see a first form, or just actually, sorry, if you were to train a legendary, at a certain point it becomes second form automatically. So you can never have it at max stats for the first form, because it always gets to the second form before that. Now with Mythics, you can get them to their max stats on the first form, because they have to evolve to get into their second form, which makes some problems happen, because having the max stats on them means that they're actually really, really tanky, like way more tanky than they should be. I think it's like, I can't remember the exact numbers now, but it's something like 50% tankier in the first form here than it is in the final form, which is just ridiculous. And the first form, yes, it has a lower auto taunt chance, it's 40%, and it doesn't have stun absorber, but it's still got auto taunt. And when it's like 1.5 times as tanky, and instead of being 14 cost, it's like 5 cost or 6 cost. Like, that's ridiculous. It's so broken in first form. If you do get this monster and you use it in first form, I was going to say don't use it, but seriously, do go use it. Never evolve this, just use it in first form until they fix this, because I want it to be everywhere and to be broken and everyone complaining about it, so they actually fix this, because it's so annoying. It should not be the way the game is coded, and yeah, we shouldn't be wanting to use like first form mythics. That's ridiculous. Anyway, this monster is really strong, great for PvP as a stun absorber. It's also, I should say, because it's auto taunt, this is one of the one of the few cases, like other taunt monsters work for it, but you can use this with raw moves, so it's a way to actually protect your raw monsters. Especially a good example of this is Padronorca, which is a camouflage monster that has raw everything, and that kind of keeps it in balance normally because it means you can't protect it. So the fact it's camouflage means that like normally a camouflage with a protector is hard because you can't double hit the protector and the camouflage monster. So it being raw is to kind of counteract that, meaning that you can't use it with protectors. Well, you can use it with Plume's-Elisk, so it kind of breaks the game a little bit in that, breaks how design should be. So yeah, that's Plume's. Let's move on to the last monster, which is Yukihime. Now this is an underrated monster for sure. You can see I've rated it pretty high. I think this is a very strong monster. I don't think it's like the kind of thing which people rush to go play. So this is tanky and got shield entrance. That is kind of an important thing, is that this will quite reliably get a turn. So the fact that it doesn't have dreamy entrance doesn't matter too much. It should get a turn pretty nicely. When it gets a turn, it can Fatal Sleep or Frozen Heart. Now, the big move here, I would say, is Frozen Heart. Doubling the seconds of an enemy is really good when you can do it at only 50 seconds. Like, this can really slow down the enemy team just by spamming in Frozen Heart onto the enemies. And then it's got a 100% sleep thing in Fatal Sleep that will get a kill and then charge Blood Fury. Otherwise, it's got the secret skill that can put an enemy to sleep permanently. So between, I would say, one of the best ways to use this, like ideally if the time allows for it and stuff, is to use Frozen Heart, spam that, and then use a Dream of Snow? Yeah, that's what it's called. A Dream of Snow, so you put one enemy to sleep and then you just keep the other one slow. Like, Yukihime will really help control the battlefield if you do that. Otherwise you could, depending on the situation, opt to use her as a sweeper by doing the Fatal Sleep and then following up with solo Blood Fury. I think this is a really powerful sleep monster for controlling the battlefield, and the fact that it's low speed shouldn't matter too much because it's got high defense and shield entrance, and that speed isn't too bad. 43% is like actually all right to then start having quite a big impact when she gets a turn. So now we've looked through all the new monsters, we're to the final section of this video where we're going to have a look at how water stands now and where these things fit in. So looking at these new monsters, they fit into the themes pretty nicely. As you can see, the stealth theme or camouflage theme on the left there, that has had a lot of support this year. Mainly in terms of the support front, we got the one sweeper in Ankara, but then like Fiona and Lilithia are, Fiona especially, really big support for it. And there's also the super epic with LM Stealth, all great support there. So yeah, a lot of stealth stuff in water. Definitely seems to be where water's going, what they're doing with the design of water. Sleep, we did actually get some more sleep stuff, although it's like 2 solo monsters and one that can't sleep unless you don't have sleep teammates. They're very hesitant with sleep, it seems to be, in water, and I don't know exactly how to put it. Basically, in 2020, this year, which we've been looking through these new monsters, sleep didn't seem to get a whole lot of support in general. They were very hesitant with stuff. And since then, we've seen some real rebalancing of stuff. We've had loads of insomnia and sleepy monsters come in. And I think we're going to start seeing more sleep monsters coming in. So when I go through the series next year, there's going to be some sleep stuff, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, as you can see, a bit hesitant on the sleep front. But we did get some sleep things. There wasn't much stun. There was only Glaceron, and the only stun it does is the stunning charge. Something I said last year in the water video was that how the way water does stun, it tends to is like controlled stunning from moves, and that's exactly what Glaceron is doing. So it's really nicely fitting with the other water stun monsters. And to be honest, I don't think water needs stun that much. Like Storm does that already. Water does some other things. It doesn't need stun as well. And then entrance control, we got some swift pullbacks, and also the swift cannibalize on Torizu. So yeah, some stuff there. Yeah, really fitting into the themes quite well here, especially that stealth you can see has got a lot of support this year. And then, and also a lot of tanky mythics as well. Anyway, so here we have water monsters' strength in general. How do they do on power level this year? Well, it's a bit of a weird one. I'd say the super epics, none of them really stood out. None of them were that strong. When it comes to the legendaries, there were only 2. So I mean, one was basically like average / bad, and the other one was really, really good. And then when it comes to the mythics, this is where I think water did actually pretty well. So I think overall water did about average probably out of the elements this year. But in terms of mythics, water got a really good average quality here, especially in PvP. And I'm not surprised because water tends to get good PvP stuff. And while one of those Lilithia might drop lower, I do think the other ones are seriously good all round. Seriously good all round. I mean, generally good, like high power level water mythics. So in the long run, as people get to awaken these mythics and all that kind of stuff, I think water's been boosted kind of weirdly here, where it's like, where it may not feel like it's been boosted because it didn't get legendaries. In the long run, I think water's actually been pushed quite a bit further, which I'm slightly disappointed by, because water is the strongest element for PvP. It didn't need more support, and yet it got a bunch of like decent mythics this year. So yeah, if I was like a big spender, if I had every monster in the game, I would probably be like running a lot of water in PvP, and some of these new mythics would be ones I'd slot in there to help the link water go on. So in terms of what it's where it stands in general, I was just kind of talking about it a bit there. The stealth archetype, I think it's now the strongest element for stealth. Shadow was the one that I've been for a while going like, please give us more stealth stuff in Shadow, and for some reason they decided to switch and put it into water. So water is the stealth element now, I'd say, more than anything else. There's just a bit of it in Shadow, and then and a tiny bit in Earth as well. But anyway, yeah, not much attention to the other themes, but I'd say there was some support there. It definitely did see some monsters in there. They were just a bit hesitant on the sleep and that kind of stuff, like I said. And in PvP, as I was just saying on the previous slide, this was the best PvP element, and I'd say it's still up, definitely up there. If you're a big spender, I would say it's up there because of the new mythics. Like, you know, it's going to be strong now, as stronger than it was before. And it just has so much control and counters to everything. Like, you can do so much with it. It's also something I didn't really point out while looking at those monsters: stun protection. We got a lot more stun protection for water this year. Last year's video I talked about how water, the only stun protection it really had was stun absorbers, but then it actually got one of the most powerful stun protection things that there is in the game, Blue Maluga, last year. And this year we got some more really good ones. So Ankara with the stun guard can potentially, we haven't really seen Ankara much, so I don't know exactly how it will play out, but I believe that will be very good stun protection. Fiona is stun immune. Plumzalisk is now one of the new best forms of stun protection, and it's in water. So yeah, water got some really decent new stun protection. It might be up there as like one of the best elements for stun protection. I don't know for sure, but you know, there's some really good stuff out there. And yeah, PvE, water doesn't do PvE that much. I'd say Fiona is one of the really good ones for this. If you from this year, I mean, if you build around it properly. Fiona and Ankara can work well together. Azida is the only real standout though for working in PvE, where it's very strong, as I mentioned when talking about that monster. In terms of what it needs, well, I will say PvP, it's definitely sorted. Last year I was saying like, don't give it anything more, don't give it anything more. We got some more stuff. We got some more powerful mythics for PvP, but maybe to their credit, they in some way were listening there and didn't give more legendaries in order to hold it back. So it's like they still give it new monsters, but they were mythics rather than legendaries. So they didn't kind of push water more, because legendaries are the things which, you know, people will get more and actually use more. So yeah, maybe they listened to me in that front. But yeah, water perfectly fine in PvP. I would say a bit more stuff for PvE. Previously I said that some more sleep stuff would be nice for that. You know, focused on PvE, so like balance it for PvE, balance sleep in PvP in general with insomnia, sleep immune, purify stuff, so that anything sleep you make isn't going to break PvP, and then sleep stuff can be good for PvE stuff, and that can be a theme which can be developed more for water, as water originally had lots of sleep, and that can be their kind of route in PvE to do link water there if you want to. And I do like how there's some nullifying stuff and blizzard type stuff in water that seems to be pretty unique to water. Blizzard especially, that's something which I think it was talked about years ago on the forum, slowing down the speed of enemy monsters, and I was like, no, don't go there, don't do debuffing enemies and that kind of stuff. That's where like this game, it could get broken and just it will be combo stuff. I actually quite like the Blizzard stuff that's been here already, other than Fiona might be a little bit too awkward because it's high speed and just slow down all the enemies a lot. But yeah, Blizzard in general, I do quite like it, and I think if they could try and make that some kind of archetype, it could work quite nicely with Time Strike, that kind of thing. But yeah, so there's some potential there for an interesting new archetype that Water could do. But yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. It's it for the series, to be honest. So this is the end of the 2020 review. I'm going to be doing this again in November, December of this year, looking at all the monsters which came out in 2021. I hope you enjoyed this series. If you have any questions or things that you want me to change for next year, I try and go quickly through these videos. They do end up a bit long. I'm sure some people would like them a little less rambly and a little bit more focused, but that is kind of my style. I have to accept that I go along with these videos. But I hope you enjoy the in-depth analysis, look at these monsters. This is really my opportunity to talk about these monsters rather than doing videos throughout the year talking about new monsters that come out. Like, I just do it all in one go, everything that came out in the last year. So big deep dive. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be seeing you in other videos soon. I'll be doing, not my usual PvE and PvP content. That'll be coming out very soon. Thanks for watching.